Oh, hey, how you doing, folks? This is NEcology. I evidently came across the spot, I should say, where Cornus canadensis was growing behind my work. I've never come down this specific set of trail, but there's a nice little spot here, and a lot of this stuff is unfortunately done flowering. I wish I should have come here about a month ago to catch a lot of this, except for the viburnum acerifolium's gone to seed. It was blooming, 10 or so days ago. The Cornus canadensis has gone to seed. That probably would have been blooming, a month and a half ago, a few weeks ago. You got Vaccinium angustifolium down here. You've got Lysimachia borealis, and then you actually have its cousin here. This is another species of Lysimachia. This guy's actually just getting going. Where was he? Right here. This is a species of loosestrife right here as a helicopter flying overhead. And this is actually in the same, oh, hello, friend. There's a spider right there. This is actually, I believe, I could be completely wrong, but I'm guessing I'm not, because if you look at those, you look at those emerging inflorescences there in bud, you'll note that they look a lot like what the Lysimachia borealis, which is right here, what those look like. And the flowers are similar. So Primulaceae, I believe, I could be screwing this way the hell up. I believe this is a Lysimachia. This is a loosestrife, is what they would call this, though. It's still got the same whorled leaves, same little antennae, inflorescences there. Leaves are in whorls of what look like, up to 5. But there's a few of those here. What else you got? You get some of those blueberries going to fruit there. Surprised they haven't been picked off by something. I have not come over here, but this is a nice little habitat. Some different stuff going off than what we've seen around the corner. A big bastard of a Vaccinium corymbosum right there, full of blueberries. And then right behind there is what looks like a big wetland. And I think that that's some sort of a protected area, but I'm gonna take a couple pictures of these and see if I can see anything else. I might just make this one of those really quick videos that I definitely have not actually done, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll see something else. But anyway, I just came down here for a walk, and I noticed just right here a bunch of stuff I'm familiar with but haven't seen growing over here. So we'll take note of that. And allegedly there's a couple of species of orchid that can grow over here, and maybe even an iris. So I'm gonna see how far this goes, but I gotta turn around and go back in a few minutes. Oh yeah, and you get the Michella repens in flower down there, Rubiaceae, one of our old friends that's growing just about everywhere. So yeah, let me see if I can see anything else. I might just slap this at the beginning or at the end of another video, but the next time I'll be filming will probably be next week when I'm going up Mount Washington, which will be a pretty different plant community. So we'll stay tuned. Okay, so like I said, irises were mentioned, but unfortunately this is not Iris versicolor, which would be the native iris, and I'm sticking into the mud here. Oh Jesus! This is not the native iris, which we've seen a couple times already. Iris versicolor. This is an invasive species of iris, pseudacorus, pseudacorus, because I guess when it comes up, it looks like sweet flag, which is in the genus Acorus. Actually, I think that's a monotypic family, Acaraceae or Acorales. I don't know. I'm going off out on a limb there, but tangential, another monocot looks kind of like an arum, but not related. And here's that habitat that I was talking about. This is what we've been approaching. Just a big wetland area. I'd love to get in there, but I mean, I'm barely on the edge of it, and I'm already sinking into the mud. We're gonna look at that plant in 1 second, because that is a member of the family Araceae right there too. But yeah, this is an invasive species of iris, yellow iris pseudacorus. Morphology is pretty much the same, or I shouldn't say the same, as the iris versicolor. But yeah, you see a yellow iris, it's invasive. The two native irises we get, prismatica, along the seacoast, and then versicolor in wetlands like this, are directly competing with this non-native species of iris, which compared to the other irises I've seen, this one's doing a heck of a lot better of a job of kind of occupying its domain. But So this guy, I forget the scientific name. This is a, I think they call this the green arrow arum or something like that. I know what plant this is. I can't remember the scientific name. Family is definitely Araceae. There's the inflorescence there. I can't tell if that's done or if that's just, oh, that's just getting started. So it'll have, this is the spathe here. The spadix is in there. It's just not open quite yet. Those guys might have some open, but I'm not gonna trudge across the, you know, I'll sink right into this mud here. So you'll have to take my word on it. But that's the flower right there. A lot less showy than you get on the Simplocarpus here. That's a Simplocarpus foetidus. That's that skunk cabbage we're all very familiar with. Yeah, this is a cool habitat. I'm glad I came down over here. Bummer about that, you know, invasive species of iris, but I'll tag it on INAT. I guess they manage these. But yeah, there's another one of those green arums. I think it might just be called a green arum. I'm not sure, but family is definitely Araceae. I'm aware of the plant. You can see that there's, you know, one's got the inflorescence out. It's a very, very long, narrow spadix and spathe structure on that, but still has the traditional arum inflorescence type. Cool habitat. Shame to see that growing here, but what you gonna do? Okay, yeah, I looked it up. Peltandra is the genus here. Peltandra virginica, and I was right on the common name, green arrow arum. Obvious to see how it got that name. But yeah, I've actually seen this plant numerous times. I mean, you can see it. Some of them are getting huge out there. I've seen this plant numerous times. I've just never been, never thought to really point it out because it was either just getting going or I was talking about other stuff and getting excited. But, you know, I seen this up at a, you know, when I was over at Bear Brook the other day, I saw this out in the, what you call it, the Great Meadow Preserve out in the wetlands there, down here, or down over in Concord, Massachusetts. I seen it, but you know, not a rare plant, a cool one, because I mean, obviously, I love arums, and you know, these are predominantly tropical plants, subtropical plants, but they do still maintain quite a bit of diversity up here in the Northeast, where it's obviously plenty wet enough for them to set up shop and do their thing. But we're gonna maybe take a look at one or two other things, and if not, I'll sign off in the next scene. But I swear, someone's seen an orchid, and they've seen it quite a few times in this area. It's not Cypripedium McCall. It's another rather common one. Not a Corallorhiza, maybe an Epiphagus. I don't know. We'll see it. Maybe. I shouldn't say we'll see it. We might see it, and if we do, I'll be quite pleased. Okay, we're gonna keep going here. I gotta cut my way back up through here because it's kind of a sketchy trail. After this point in the video, I go on a bit of a tangent about the state of homelessness in America, briefly commenting on our tragic housing crisis that we're facing, especially in areas like the Northeast and down in the Southwest and California, Pacific Northwest, etc. You are probably aware that we have a massive issue with housing availability here in the U.S. If you push beyond that, I start to get into some discussion about the eastern mountain ranges we have here, specifically comparing and contrasting two of the highest peaked areas, the White Mountains of New Hampshire, and then ironically the Black Mountains of North Carolina, which are the two highest points of elevation in the eastern U.S. The Black Mountains, specifically Mount Mitchell, being a little bit taller, and the White Mountains up here in New Hampshire, specifically Mount Washington, being a little bit more prominent. And I kind of explain what that means if you are interested in watching. A couple points that are important to make up. I'm over exaggerating how much more prominent Mount Washington is than Mount Mitchell. Really, the big difference there is the fact that Mount Washington is so much further north, although it is certainly a bit more prominent than any of the mountains down there in the southern Appalachians. What I got completely wrong is a comment on the isolation of the peaks. So isolation being the distance between the distance between the peak you're discussing and the next highest peak from it. Mount Mitchell is, 1,200 miles from the next highest peak, whereas Mount Washington is basing its isolation off of Mount Mitchell. It's about 800 miles, if I'm not mistaken. In any case, if you want to hear that discussion and you want to keep watching this video for another 7 or 8 minutes, how long it goes on. Be my guest, but the plant talk ends here. This is your official non sequitur warning. Thanks for watching so far. Okay, well, no orchids yet, but I stumbled across someone's little homeless camp here. And, you know, I get it. It's, you're living in the metro Boston area. No one can afford to live anywhere, but I just wish they would hike all the stuff in, but they don't hike the trash back out and, you know, just throw it in the dumpster. Just hijack someone's dumpster and throw it in there. Supposedly that's, I mean, it's technically illegal, I think, but you know what? It's better to break the law in that case than to just leave your garbage out. And, you know, if you ever, you know, hike kind of in urbanized areas like this, you're going to see a lot of that. You know, I've never actually encountered a person. I mean, obviously I've encountered homeless people before, but at the camps, but they really don't, you know, linger around for too long during the day, it seems. Or, I mean, who knows when that person was there last? Maybe they're not even there anymore. But, yeah, especially, you know, in the Northeast, out west, down the south. I don't know why. The winters here are brutal. Why we have, you know, so many people who choose to, you know, hack it here. I mean, I know why. But, you know, it's just sad to see. They never, you know, it just makes me sad. Should be taking care of people better. But no orchid. And unless I see one on that somewhat depressing note, I might just sign this video off, head back in, because it's pretty warm out actually. Normally I used to always open these with telling you, you know, where we were in space-time. But this is mid-June and it's starting to get real warm. But you know what? This time next week, actually, I'll be back by this time next week. In less than a week, I'll be up in the Presidential Mountains. We're going to do Mount Hale, which is a 4,000 footer, but one of the shorter ones. We're going to do Mount Monroe, Mount Washington. Monroe's a 5,000 footer. Washington's the highest peak in the Northeast, most prominent peak east of the, oh geez, this is kind of a, like I said, I've never been over here. I didn't really know what to expect. Highest peak in the Northeast, technically, well, not technically, Mount Mitchell down there in North Carolina. They got a couple mountains that are taller than Mount Washington, but they are not more prominent. And what they are is a lot further inland. Mount Washington's only 60 miles from the coast as the crow flies. In fact, it's visible from Portland, Maine, which is where I was born. You know, from the Atlantic Ocean, you can see Mount Washington. And it's a very prominent mountain. It's basically rising from the floor of a valley, or the floor of a coastal plain that's only about 200 feet above sea level, I think. 200, 500 feet above sea level. Compare that to where you're at, you know, in the Piedmont, down there in the southeast. You know, you're coming up off of an area that's, you know, 2,000 feet. I think Mount Mitchell, you know, base to summit, is only about maybe 5,000 feet from base to summit. Mount Washington is 6,000. Much further north mountain, much more isolated, much more prominent against the surrounding area, which is the thing a lot of people from out west, where you get, you know, you get 14,000 foot mountains out in the Rockies and the Cascades, sub-ranges of those areas. But the trick is most of those mountains are rising from a plateau that's already, you know, 6,000 to 10,000 feet above sea level. You've got towns in Colorado that are 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 feet above sea level. So when you talk about Mount Washington being only 6,200 feet, it doesn't seem that high, but you're only starting from 200 feet above sea level. And when you talk about something like Pikes Peak, which is a 14,000 foot mountain, being very tall, which it is, Pikes Peak actually from base to summit isn't as tall as Mount Washington, which tends to get people fired up. I don't know why. It's just topography. This is how the study works. But yeah, it's a really unique peak. It's a dangerous mountain. despite being of only modest elevation. And I'm basically saying all of this to hype you up for what will be the next video after this.
No, it won't.
Because I think I just spent more time talking about the next video than I did actually showing you anything interesting, but, you know, whatever. And if you are the type of person that likes to, you know, get overly negative about homelessness or poverty or any of these issues that are extremely prevalent in America, I'm probably not the channel to follow, because I am pretty sympathetic to people who end up in those situations. You yourself are probably much more closer to being out on the street yourself than you are to being, you know, rich, as if that's anything to strive for in life. But I'm going to avoid getting negative and just hike my way back to my office, where I will unfortunately be subjected to negative vibes for the rest of the day. But it's Friday, and I'm only working one day out of the next 10, so I really can't complain that much. In any case, I'm really looking forward to shooting the next 2 videos. I'm going to get enough footage to cover many videos, and this ended up being kind of a rant. I'm scaring the chipmunks. So I'm going to make my way back, and I hope you make your way back next week when we have those videos up, and I will see you then.